Good evening. Welcome to the second meeting of November. And we have a fairly brief agenda tonight. And we have Trustee Kashi. Just wait 1 second. It's okay. So we don't have anybody from buildings or public works coming?
They're not here now tonight.
They're not going to be.
They're not going to be here.
So what do we do with their reports?
I can just show it to you on the
Just
screen.
enter it, yeah.
Yeah, so the first item on the agenda is the building department October 2021 report.
We have Superintendent of Public Works here. So.
Oh, great.
Okay.
So the number of applications are 52, 39 permit issued, the fees collected are $99,759.75. They also did 130 inspections with 54 complaints, 47 violation issued, and 27 summon issued.
Okay.
The next item is the Department of Public Work October 2021 report.
Mm-hmm. Anything to add, Louis?
Nothing to add.
Okay.
The next item on there
We have to
is
wait
a
for the public.
hearing.
We have to wait for the public hearing. I think for 7:45.
Yes.
Okay.
So if you would like, we can move to new business before we come back
Yes.
to that. Okay. So under new business, we have the application for correction of errors. This is actually not a new business. It was in front of the board last time.
Mhm.
And this has to do with the property at 199 West Shore Road.
Right.
We went back to our assessor. We spoke to them again. And he reiterated that unfortunately the village does not have a choice.
He said what?
That the village does not have any choice, and he can basically take legal action against the village to recover the refund.
Understood.
However, you mentioned that you want the building superintendent to make sure that he's in contact with the homeowner
Mm-hmm.
to rectify the issue and close the opening. Unfortunately, in the middle, he fell ill, so I don't know if he has followed up with that.
That was the our building superintendent.
Yes.
Okay.
So if you would like to either postpone it, or if you would like to vote on it, so we could issue it on the next abstract.
I think I'd rather postpone it just because that seems to be a fairly significant issue.
I agree with you. Yeah.
So we'll
Okay, we'll table it for the next
put
time.
that on for the next meeting.
Yes. The next three items on contract for various professional engineering, mechanical and structural engineering. The village council has reviewed all the contracts. The revisions were made and it was sent to the engineers. I have not heard back from them. I followed up with them again, and as of this afternoon, we haven't received anything back. So unfortunately, we have to table those as well.
Okay.
The next item on the agenda is a letter that we have received from Manhasset Bay Protection Committee. We have 60 days to make a decision whether to remain or to leave the committee. Each village is obligated to pay $1,800 dues. The $1,800 is already as part of the budget and is passed, so it's already designated for that amount. If the board wishes to leave the committee, he could make the motion to leave. Otherwise, you do not have to take any action to remain in the committee.
Okay. I would think that we don't want to take any action on it. We'd like to remain part of the Manhattan Bay Protection Committee. Everybody agree? So we'll take no action?
We will take no action on that because, again, we don't have to take any action
Correct.
if we do not want to leave the committee.
And it hasn't gone up this year.
It went up last year from $1,500 to $1,800, and it's already accounted for in the budget for 2022. There's a request by PAL to hang a banner starting December 1st through January 15th, I believe.
Yeah.
Is there a motion to allow them to hang the banner for PAL? It's moved by.
What is the banner?
What is it hanging? The Pell banner.
I know it's
It's
a Pell banner.
The same PAL banner that they always hang up.
Just for the organization in general, not any particular event.
No.
Okay.
If you would like, I can try to find it. I got a picture of it, but I'm not sure exactly if.
Yeah, these are stuff,
The usual spot by, in front of Millbrook Court.
Okay.
Who's putting it up?
We have a motion.
Who's putting it up?
It's moved by Trustee Hope.
Are they putting it up themselves?
No, the DPW has to do it. Not yet. This issue came up last time, but we haven't made a decision on that yet.
Do we have a second? I'll second it.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 It's unanimous. The next item are the minutes of November 2nd, 2021 meeting.
I actually. One second.
What time did we start the meeting?
7:35.
I'll move the minutes.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And it's unanimous. We'll be waiting for a few moments till we start the
That's fine.
public hearing.
Abstracts aren't done.
Question. If, Fairview, there's a long section on Fairview. There's a long section in Fairview that does not have a stop sign. I remember last minute we spoke about kids or people racing down the road. Fairview has that issue. I think you drive, there's like one stop sign and there's a long stretch that passes a few streets, about maybe 6, 7 streets, that has no stop sign and people just race down the road. A few of the tenants on that road asked me to, they were supposed to be here but didn't make it, about the possibility installing, putting in a stop sign to slow down the traffic. They wanted to know if something they have to make a request or it's something we can just review ourselves and make a decision on it.
That's a request that they have to make. However, usually to slow down the traffic, it's not advisable to put the stop sign. Usually, to do that, there are other things like a flashing light or maybe a speed radar or something.
Okay. Because it's a very long stretch, and I'm driving myself too. It's a long stretch all the way to almost to.
Are you talking
to
about
Station
from?
Road.
Oh, that side.
Yeah, it goes from the hill. I think it's by Weybridge, and straight down is about like 5 or 6 streets, side streets. Just go straight down.
Is there a particular intersection?
No, I don't know. They just
Yeah.
brought up to me yesterday. And I was wondering if it's something we have to review to see where and how, or something. Let them. You know what? I'll let them request them. Make a formal request.
If
And
they're
have
going to
the
make
head
a
of
formal
DPW
request,
look
they
at
have
it.
to give us a specific intersection and a specific reason why that intersection requires a stop
specific.
sign. So
Okay.
It
But-
can't just be to slow traffic.
Right. To slow traffic, it's you don't usually you don't use a stop sign to slow traffic on that intersections.
Because there's no stop sign for a few blocks. So okay,
Yeah.
I'll tell them to make a formal request and see which corner.
Yeah.
We have 2 more minutes. So
What about the stop sign that we wanted to have, the light up one by Arundel and Maple? We spoke about it last time.
As soon as the board makes a decision that if we want to put it up, I'll get the quote. We have it still; it's still valid. We can put it and vote on it, and we
Mhm.
could obtain it.
yeah, it wasn't voted on.
It was not voted on.
So we just need to, in other words, put it on the agenda
You have to
for next time?
formalize it.
Okay, so
Were there accidents at that intersection that we know about?
there's just a lot, it's a dangerous intersection. There are a lot of students walking.
No, I understand.
There are a lot of students walking in that area, and,
That doesn't make it dangerous.
well, it's dangerous because no one is stopping at that stop sign. There tends to be overgrowth, there's a big tree there, and it blocks the view, and whenever, I mean, anecdotally, whenever
Then
I've
maybe we could
passed
address it by addressing the overgrowth.
Are you
But
talking
even
about
when there's-
Maple and
Arundel.
It's on
Arundel?
Arundel, going west on Arundel, at Maple.
Yeah.
It's on the north side of the street, it's on someone's property.
I know, but my only concern is the other,
There's a stop sign there now, but people just go through it.
understood, but you said there's overgrowth and things like that. I mean,
It's
I'm
not,
not opposed to the LED lights, I think that they're effective and efficient, but otherwise, some people can make a claim that every intersection requires one or should have one for whatever reason.
I think this one.
The ones that
when-
we've put in so far, I think were problematic intersections where were known.
And it has
prone for
stopped the
accidents.
traffic. Not the traffic,
It
the
stopped
accidents.
Yeah, stop the accidents.
Yeah, thank God we have not had any accident on those intersections at all.
So they've been very effective, and I'm not against it, and I'm sure the mayor isn't. So, yeah,
I mean,
it's something
the
to look at.
residents in that area have approached me at different residents who live around there because they see it there.
Okay.
I think it's a matter, we don't have to wait until an accident happens.
All right, it's 8:47. We could start the public. I'm sorry, 7:47.
It's
We could start the public.
7:47. I would like to ask Mr. Gray.
Sure. Can we have a motion to open the public hearing?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, very good. So this public hearing is now open concerning the opting out of licensing and establishing retail cannabis dispensaries. So earlier in the year, the state passed legislation to allow municipalities to have adult use cannabis locations, cannabis retail dispensaries, and/or on-site consumption licenses. And they're going to be controlled by the state. The state is setting up a cannabis control board, which will set up regulations, and that's who they'll go to. They, meaning people who want to have these types of establishments, they'll apply for a license from them. The state has given local municipalities, villages, towns, the ability to opt out, which means if you opt out, you're saying to the state, don't issue any licenses in our village for these types of establishments. We don't want on-site consumption, and we don't want retail dispensaries. This legislation is subject to permissive referendum, so what that means is if you pass this legislation and adopt it, residents have 30 days to circulate a petition where they'd have to get 20% of the registered voters in the village to sign the petition. And if they get enough signatures, the village will then have to have a village-wide election on the issue.
A referendum.
A referendum
Mhm.
for the village residents to decide whether or not you should have it or not. If nobody files a petition within 30 days, then there is no referendum, and we can then forward the adopted legislation, file it with the state, and therefore you are now opt out. If you don't complete that process by December 31st, you will no longer have the option to opt out.
Right.
However, if you do opt out and you decide 6 months from now, a year from now, a year and a half, you could always opt back in by simply rescinding the local law if you adopt it.
Correct. Right. So.
Any questions from the board?
We've been through it.
Okay.
I'm curious to.
Can I ask, it's a little unclear.
Just 1 second, we'll get to public comment in a minute.
I'm
No.
sorry,
I thought I entertained it, but
Oh, did you? I'm
I didn't
sorry.
hear anything.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Sorry.
It's a question. It's not clear. Do you need a referendum?
You have to come up,
I'm
They-
sorry?
Karen. You have to come up and it's a public hearing. So
It's not.
Wait,
So
wait,
say
it's
your
from
name
the- it's
and
from the
address.
I'm sorry, name and address, I'm sorry. Just because it's a public hearing.
I'm Karen Rubin. In this question,
Address.
I'm a
please.
columnist for Blank Slate Media at this point. I'll come back and make a comment as myself, but I have a question concerning, can there be a referendum on either side or only a referendum if?
Well,
the village
if you listen,
passes
it only if we choose to opt out at this time, then a petition with 20% of the voters can force a referendum on the issue.
Well, that's my question. I'm not clear. let's say you opt in, can there be a referendum to overturn it?
No, so once you opt in,
Well, you don't actually opt in.
Right.
You simply take no action.
you take no action.
If you take no action at all, the law is what the law is, and it's not subject to any referendum.
We cannot then opt out.
Oh, so, okay, so today, you're deciding whether to have legislation to opt out, and in that case, villagers can petition to say, no, we want in. Is that
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Or we, as a board, or some future board, can see how it goes in other villages, can then, at some future date, decide to opt in. However, given the very short time period that we have, the lack of experience that we have, the lack of knowledge of how this goes, we feel that it's prudent to take the action that I think we'll be taking tonight. So, anybody else? David?
20% of registered voters or 20% of the population of the village?
Registered voters in the village.
They have to be a registered voter or just 20% of the number of registered voters who live in the village?
What's the difference?
Well, do they have to be a registered voter or can they not be registered?
Can it be residents?
I would think they
residents
have to
or
be
voters?
registered voter.
They have to be registered voters.
Okay. Not residents. So it's a difference.
They have to be a resident.
They have to be residents.
Oh, it can be a resident, not a registered voter. What I'm saying is,
No, they have to be vote. Registered
Okay.
voter?
Registered voter. 20% of the registered voters, yes. Yeah. Mr. Zelenziger.
Thank you. David Slenziger, 15 Beach Road. I would urge you not to opt out. I think there's two reasons for it. First, our retail businesses on Middle Neck Road aren't doing so well.
Mhm.
We have lots and lots of vacancies. We're going to have at least 2 more shops opening next year when the apartments get finished, next to Everfresh, right? So if now someone wants to come and, because it's legal in the state of New York, have a kind of a dispensary, which would be regulated and so on, what's the problem and why not? For instance, if someone would come and take over that beautiful 705 Middle Neck Road, and that would be fantastic, right? And it might also lead to other things for the village. So why rule out something that is now legal here? We permit liquor sales, we have at least 1 liquor store, and we have at least 1 bar, and we may have a few restaurants left that haven't collapsed that sell alcohol, controlled substance. So I don't see the problem. Now, I personally couldn't care less. I have nothing to do with cannabis. I've never sampled it. I don't know people who use it. But it's legal and it's here. The other point is, the whole war on drugs has been 50 years of stupidity. I remember listening to William Buckley 50 years ago talk about how stupid it was. And we've seen billions and billions of dollars spent on this so-called war on drugs. And what's been the result? Not very much. Tremendous police corruption, judicial corruption, legal corruption, bribery, and so on. So now this one substance has been decriminalized and is now going to be regulated. So what's the problem? It might also benefit the village. I know how you're going to vote, but that's my opinion.
I appreciate your opinion. And you can sit down. I'll give you my thoughts on it. I'm just one member of the board. I also do not have a particular. I'm going to answer his question before I call on Eugene. Okay. I am more ambivalent on this issue and curious on this issue. We don't know how it might benefit the village or hurt the village. We do know, I know from speaking with residents that people are pretty much solidly against it if you raise the issue. Given the short window that we have to opt out, and given that it's reversible, that we can opt back in, the prudent thing at this time, I think, and I believe the mayor believes, and I believe the rest of the board has discussed this, the prudent thing at this time would be to opt out, okay, and not foreclose on our option to do that, okay? Once, if we take no action, then we're stuck with it. And if it goes badly, we're stuck with it. As to the second part of your question, I don't think it's relevant to what we're discussing tonight. Um, we do have liquor stores and a bar, and cannabis might be on equal footing with that. We also have vagrants in the village green who are passed out drunk and vomiting and doing worse all over the park and on our streets. So I don't think that that's a great argument that we need more of some kind of substance for people. I think that parents in general of teenagers or even younger children, are just not very enthused about adding one more option to all that's available to their kids at this time. Again, I don't have anything against anybody who might use, and I don't think any of us do, and I think we all know people who are fine citizens who do this. So, what? So it's not a judgment on anybody, but I think we're just going to take the prudent route and exercise the option that we have in front of us. It's the only one that we have right now. So, Jean, did you want to speak?
Jean Pierce, 44 Arundel Avenue. I might not get my lift tonight home because I'm sorry, but I am definitely against it. I don't think we can use the excuse that we've got empty stores. We've had empty stores for years now. Good grief, we can't even get a supermarket. But
Children's shoe store.
A what?
A children's shoe store. I mean, when you talk about, we have supermarkets, but even a children's shoe store
we
we
don't
get.
have
We have one less today.
Supermarket Everfresh, but I don't call
Yeah.
that for, like
That's
we
in the
used to
plaza.
have.
The
About
car drove through Shop Delight today.
43 years ago, we had a store right up in the old village by the post office, and he was selling paraphernalia, drug paraphernalia. And at the time,
We have it right now, by the way,
but this was 43 years ago.
and we have it now. Yes.
And I stood up here and I was very much against it.
Mhm.
And I went into that store and I said, I looked at it and I said, why would you be selling this to our children from the high school, from the middle school? And he said, don't worry, I won't sell it to any child that's under 11 years old. So I wrote a letter to all the mayors in Great Neck and the rabbis of all the temples, which, as I said last time, was easy because we only had 5 temples then, and to the 2 churches, to the priests. And within 2 weeks, he closed down.
Okay.
And we just breathed a sigh of relief and said, good, because you open these places, you know the children, and I call them children, even if they're 15, 16, they're still children. They're going to go in there and they're going to buy it.
Okay.
We don't need it in our village. We've got enough garbage here, quite honestly, and it needs cleaning up as it is. We don't need to add to it.
Okay. Thank you. And by the way, good friends could disagree. I'm sure you'll get your ride home. Yes. Yes. Resident Karen Rubin.
So I'm Karen Rubin, 5 Rose Avenue, Great Neck. Oh, I guess I'll thank you. Thank you. So it's good to hear that I think you're making a very prudent choice, and I think it's clear, but I think I'd still like to be on the record as being very much opposed to this. I spoke also at Great Neck Plaza, which also took the decision to opt out. The fact of the matter is, number one, you'd only get one. It's not like you're going to get bunches. So for the villages who are thinking this is a great financial opportunity, it really isn't. The second thing is, I heard in that the chocolate store said, wow, it'll bring people here. Of course, they'll go to the chocolate store after. But the people who will come to buy cannabis are not going to be indulging they're not going to go to other stores to buy things. And you will be bringing in a horrible element. Has anybody walked down the streets of New York City at any point lately? You can't go to any kind of gathering without getting absolutely sick. And by the way, that's the big difference with alcohol or bars or anything. And because the smell translates, right? And it's sickening. And alcohol, you're not allowed to drink alcohol on the street, right? You're not allowed to have an open container, and you're not allowed to smoke cigarettes in a restaurant. But people are smoking.
Or in front of the stores on Middle Neck Road in our village.
Okay, but people will be using cannabis everywhere. Even last summer, during some of the busiest concerts in Stepping Stone Park, there were at least some people smoking. It was horrendous. So it's pollution to other people who don't want to be exposed. And also from a children's point of view, I'm all for medical marijuana, and I'm all for decriminalization. What I'm not for is promoting recreational. You're going to be creating a culture. These kids will grow up and thinking, wow, this is such an acceptable thing. So the people who make the argument, yes, we have alcohol and alcohol is acceptable, it's really not the same thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well said. Just one more second. I just need to.
We did get somebody who wasn't able to make the meeting tonight who wanted this to be on the record from Karen Bardash at 119 Maple Street. I'm in favor of opting out at this time and seeing how other communities who have chosen otherwise fare with their decision. I believe it is better to err on the side of caution and not be hasty making decisions we perhaps will regret. Therefore, we should at this time wait and not permit the licensing and establishment of retail cannabis dispensaries.
Any
Okay.
other comments from the public? Any other comments or questions from the board?
No.
Okay, at this time, you can entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay. Do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, very good, it's closed. You now have the option of adopting the local law. If somebody wants to make a motion to adopt the local law as presented.
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Cashy made the motion.
Okay, is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries, local law is adopted. We need to hold on to this local law for 30 days before you send it up to the Department of State.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is, I don't think we're done yet with the abstracts. So we could have public.
Two more.
No, but we could have public comment
Okay.
in the interim.
Anybody from the public would like to come up to the podium?
Jim Pierce. I'd just like to check on the status of 731 Middle Neck Road.
Can I answer?
You can.
There has been no change in the status. They sent their plans to the planning board, to the county, I believe, but there hasn't been any update on that.
No decision yet.
No decision. No decision from IDA. IDA has tabled this indefinitely for now.
Indefinitely.
Correct.
But they're still going ahead and they've sent their plans?
They have. There hasn't been any change since last time. Correct. They are still going with their plans even without an IDA.
Because he did say that if he didn't get the tax relief.
I
he
can't
was not
talk.
going to-
I can't talk for the applicant, but I would say that was just a business pitch that he made. I believe that's what it was.
So,
No change.
no change.
Okay.
But the building's, what's left of the building is still going to stand there for the winter, right? Let's hope there's a heavy snowfall and it just comes down.
I believe Mr. Haramis is trying to work with the applicant to take down the building at least. I don't think if there has been any development on that end.
If that's all the residents in that area are asking for, it really is a liability to the village.
I will remind the building department again.
I think
as
it's a
well.
liability to the property owner. But okay. Anybody else, David?
Is Lindsay 15 Beach Road. I had two questions. One is to our treasurer. How are we doing with that Moody's fix? Has it been fixed yet?
So the 2019 audit report was issued, and it has been forwarded to them, as well as the S&P. We are now working on 2020 audit.
So do you think it'll be done by the end of this calendar year?
The 2020 audit, we are aiming for that, yes.
So do you think this so-called problem with the ratings agency will be resolved by December 31?
I don't believe if they are moving that fast to reverse that, not because they don't want to or there's something wrong with the books, just because the process they do, maybe I'm not sure exactly how often they check, but I don't think it's going to be within a month and a half that they're going to reverse that.
All right, well, we'll just keep asking. I had another question totally unrelated. I understand that the former friendly taxi depot on Steamboat at Wood Road has been acquired by the Koha and Met congregation just down Steamboat Road. So, and I understand
Metro?
they paid about $600,000 for it.
Okay.
Now, right across the street is that burned-out former dormitory that this board made more than 2 years ago, I think. You know, you reviewed the plans to rebuild it and so on. I asked about it at the last meeting, and yet that ugly burned-out structure is still there. Is there any idea what's going to happen to it?
Our building superintendent is not here tonight,
Right.
so I can't ask him. Maybe Abraham knows something?
About the first part of your question, I don't know how much they paid for the building, for the plot of, for the
I
friendly,
understand that's what they paid.
but it
It's a
is
public
correct
record.
that they bought it. Regarding the across the street, I believe it's 113 Steamboat Road.
Okay, it's right across the burned-out.
It's 113 Steamboat Road. They have submitted some plans. They need to go to the Board of Zoning, and that is the status of that currently.
Do you have an idea if it will be launched for the zoning board for December?
It will not be, because the chances of them getting what they want is very dim, and that's why it's getting prolonged.
Did they have to go in front of Nassau? Did they have to go in front of the Nassau Planning Commission also?
Yes.
Okay.
Steamboat is a
So it's a
county road,
239,
yes,
okay.
correct.
So please, I don't recall exactly when they were here. But remember, they had architects, and the board was very happy with what they had. But for reasons I don't know, they never proceeded.
The plans that they showed was for across the street for 112 Steamboat prior to them buying the corner property. So by buying those corner properties, what they presented to the board, they're going to be changing. I'm assuming they're going to be changes to that. If your question is about the across the street,
I'm concerned about the
Burned out building.
burned out, this, you know, the awful structure.
they have been
It's been there for years.
there have been multiple times that they have asked them to take it down. They want to replace it with a different structure. Their other option is to renovate what it's there currently. And they are going between the two because, as I mentioned, if they go to the Board of Zoning, they're getting approval for what they want to build it's abysmal. It's not going to happen. But so they are thinking about just renovating what is currently there.
All right, but so meanwhile, we put up with the eyesore, that's correct, huh?
It's been an ongoing issue that we're going back and forth
They
with
have
them.
it fenced off, though.
They're,
Yes,
they're
it's
having the
fenced
fenced
off,
up,
but
but the neighbors
It's
are,
a-
are
yeah.
upset. And
No, I understand.
But it's a visual eyesore.
It's an eyesore to me as well.
And so I'm just wondering how much longer we have to put up with it, that's all. Thank you.
Hopefully not much longer. Any other public comments? Okay, so the next item is abstracts.
abstract.
I make a motion to accept the abstract.
The abstract.
Second?
It's.
Oh, did you have something?
Do you have no questions on it?
I have no questions.
Okay. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you. It's approved. Any other comment?
What else can we discuss?
I believe this is.
Oh, the mayor's
8:10.
away, we could do whatever we want. Come on.
Yeah.
Motion to close the meeting?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Is this gonna be recurring like this every time we face 810?
It's on record.
It's what?